Hey, legends. All right, so now we're on to step two, the ideal client resonance and frequency. So, what we're doing here is that we're really profiling the ideal client. And what I found is that when the ideal client is profiled, then we can magnetize more of those clients. It's like a system that sets the foundation for being able to say yes to some clients and no to others. With the system, it allows us to block out the non ideal clients and say no to them. The universe is like a vacuum, and it will suck in, if there's space created, it will suck into that space. And we don't want it to suck in non ideal clients. We want it to bring in and attract more of the ideal clients. And there's a it's really important to be bringing in more of the ideal clients because they're like attracts like, and the ideal clients resonate and hang out with more people like them. So what we experienced in our business was a multiplier effect, or a spiraling up, when we profiled the ideal client and who really resonated with us. We were able to then focus on them, and we said no to the non ideal clients. So we had about 10 to 20 leads a week of rental property clients, and they were just shopping around for the cheapest option, and they weren't focused on quality and service and what we do. So what happened was we were spending a lot of time on them, but we get a low conversion rate because we were more expensive, and we weren't the right fit in terms of the supplier to those clients. Cutting them out was scary though, because it meant that we would reduce our leads by 10 to 20 a week. And then the fear was is that we wouldn't be able to make up that revenue and keep the doors open. However, because we knew the importance of vibration and attraction and taking the steps forward to improve the business and the profitability of the business, we decided that it was an essential process to do. So we cut out and started saying no to all of the clients that weren't fitting our ideal client parameter. By doing that, we reduced the workload of our sales team and created space for them to then focus and put more service into the ideal client, which led to them referring more people like themselves, more ideal clients. And it became, within 6 months of doing this process, we almost 2.5 times our revenue with the same cost structure. So I've got some calculations in this section that you can have a look at, and it's super interesting when you start to see the numbers. We had, here it is, why it matters financially. So we were seeing 30 clients per week with an average job value of 3,000 and a conversion rate of 35%. That meant we generated 31,500 of revenue per week. So we did about, over a 50-week operating year, 1.5 million, and our sales function was costing 300 grand. After this ideal client process, 6 months later, we were seeing the same number of clients, 30 per week, with an average job of 5,000 and a conversion rate of 50%. So we were generating 75,000 per week, which was 3.75 mil per year instead of the 1.575 mil. So it was about 2.5 times more results than with the same cost structure. So you can see the impact of having a a client, that the same team, the same people, the same business, the same structure, but with an improved frequent vibration and system match to where the value is. So from the same system, we more than doubled our result. So we're now, say, 5 years on since we did that process the first time. We now see 50 clients per week at an average job value of 8,000 and a conversion rate of 50%, which is about 200,000 per week. So that's 10 million a year on a 50-week year. And we're doing it in a 4-day working week, and we were working 5 days a week before. Yeah, it's freaking amazing. And what I believe the core reason to this is working from the inside out. So understanding the values, your values, the business's values, and working with both masculine and feminine principles of one, a strong system and action of doing, but also two, having the vibrational match and thinking about where the more subtle processes which allow you to magnetize clients rather than have to hustle all the time and do massive effort. So what happens with the feminine side of it is that there's that magnetism. So when you start to focus on the ideal clients only and choose yourself and your space and time, then that multiplies over time. That multiplies the result. So you can see here, I give some examples and why it matters energetically, because sales become more effortless, conversion rate increases, profit expands, and the profit expands because the effort to return changes significantly, because you're not constantly hustling and driving and pushing uphill, but you're actually starting to align and magnetize. And so in that, the cost doesn't change actually, but the results do. And so for less effort, you get greater reward. The nervous system relaxes because you and the team feel the clarity and the resonance, and it's a more smooth inflow rather than a big erratic, oh, I'm hustling and I get a big hit of sales and then I burn out and I get tired and then sales drop back, and then you in this constant like nervous system ups and downs. So this system that I'm helping you build will just smooth out the nervous system waves and allow for a much more nourishing way of doing business. So we mentioned the financial, why it matters. So how to build the energetic profile. So firstly, layer one is internal energetics. So the resonance field. So start inside and work your way out. What clients feel light, which ones are energizing me, which ones are draining me. Obviously, you want to focus on the ones that are energizing you. Which clients feel like we're co-creating together rather than being pulled on. Who trusts the process and doesn't try to micromanage. Like even to this day, we still get some clients that appear to fit the profile, but then when you're working with them, they just don't feel like the right fit. So those clients, we put them on a blacklist and we just no, so they never come back. Who is excited by the same values and visions that I stand for? Your body will tell you the truth before your mind does. The heart, so trying to get into heart coherence when you're starting to profile these things, so that you're coming from the heart consciousness, not just the mind. That's where we're weaving strategic and mental in with spiritual and energetic. Layer two is the external profile. So the data does matter. Who are the most profitable clients? Who are your smoothest, most enjoyable clients? Who shows up with clarity, readiness, and willingness? Who values quality over price? Who becomes a raving fan or refers others with ease? So gather these facts. This grounds in the masculine structure. So this will ground it in the masculine structure. So layer three, the identity frequency. Who are they becoming? You can also start to think about, okay, the client's buying today, but who is that client growing into? So you can start to think about where they want to go and who they're becoming. What do they desire at a deeper level beyond the transaction? For us with Fox, it was about wanting space to feel organized. At the time of transaction, they're feeling cluttered and overwhelmed with not having good storage. So it's like by creating great storage, we give them that feeling of satisfaction, the feeling of spaciousness. What identity shift does my product or service support? What does their life look like when their problem is solved or vision is met? Sales becomes magnetic when your offer aligns with your client's next evolution. And this is a client checklist, a magnetic client checklist that I've created, a values match. Your ideal client should be a values match, energetically easeful, profitable, so a high return on investment on time and energy, excited to work with you, ready to take action, respectful of boundaries plus process, someone who you genuinely want to serve. So when you say no to non-ideal clients, you free space to call in the ones who are truly meant for you. And this is where I say the universe is like a vacuum. So you create space, it wants to be filled. So make sure you're filling it with ideal clients, not non-ideal clients. And it's going to be, I found teaching people to say no is quite a challenging thing to do. It's an up level, it's growth. Learning to say no is really important for setting boundaries and for growing your business, especially growing a profitable business. And learning to say no is critically important. And we use the term rare air, which I'll go into a bit more detail later. But basically, you go into a no thinking, how can I support this person to find a right frequency and vibrational match? So our non-ideal clients are someone else's ideal clients. It might be hard to believe, but some people love detailed designer cabinetry. So we give those people to those people, and then we create great alliances with other people. So other cabinet makers and other businesses that we refer our work to, they're grateful for the extra work. And then we're grateful that we've helped that client find a solution to their next step. It's not giving them the job, but it's actually giving them some information that will help them get to the result they're looking for. So the process in this step number 2, is here. So you need to choose your top 3 ideal past clients, list everything about them, qualities, energy, behaviors, results, experience. Write down why they're aligned and the great things about those sales and interactions. And step 2, choose your 3 least ideal past clients, list the pattern of density, drain, or misalignment, write down why they are misaligned and the pain of those interactions. Why I like to write down the pain of it is so that you realize actually it's important to say no to these guys because they are painful and it is a pain in the ass and it's not fun to be working for them. So why would I keep doing that when I can give them to someone who will enjoy working with them and who will get value out of them? So that those 2 steps are really important. And then create the magnetic client identity. So use a 1-page profile document with the top 3 clients. So do a 1-pager for each of those top 3. And then write a list of the key traits that these people or these companies or whoever it is to you that makes them ideal. So for each trait, give them a score out of 3. And then depending on the number of traits will be what your total potential score is for this client. Why we build out this scoring system is it just creates a system to know when a client is, because they're not all going to be 27s, there's going to be a range. And what we chose was anyone more than half, we would give them a shot. And so anyone under half is basically knocked out straight away. And so this also, as the business builds and scales, allows for a way for you to transmit that process to an employee so that they can do that process on your behalf. So the example with ours is the ideal client was someone who knew what they wanted. They're a decision maker because we quote on the spot. So we want to be there with decision maker so we know whether they're keen or whatever it might be. We don't do pushy sales and try to close the deal on the spot, but we actually want to know that the decision maker is present for that sale. They want multiple wardrobes because that means it's going to be a bigger job. So we're able to push up the return on our effort because we drive to client sites. So we want the more the cabinetry that we could do at one site, the more that we maximize the time, the return on our time of driving to different clients. We want to know that they're ready to go. They're not like a year away from building. It's $1,000 or more project. We don't want to be going out for less than $1,000. The location is local to the area, so it's northern beaches, eastern suburbs, North Shore, upper and lower North Shore. So that then gives us a geographic location. It's for their home, and the reason for that is we knew that the ideal client, when it's for their home, they want that's like they're going to put more money and investment into quality and service over just getting the cheapest stuff. They're over 35 years old. Normally, they got more experience. They're more aware of what they want, more developed. So it's very rare that we were getting sales for people under 35. So that was one of ours. And is it their first property? Actually, we want it to be not to be their first property. So we want it to be, if it's their second property, they've done this before, they've gone through home ownership. And so there's like development in their expertise, their experience with home renovations. And that's where we got our total score. So anything over half, so around 15 plus points, we would say yes to the client. Anything less than that, we would reject them. The sales reframe here to magnetic sales is we don't chase clients, we resonate with them. We don't convince clients, we align with them. We don't close clients, we create a field where the right client chooses us. And magnetic sales is simply clarity plus systems plus energy equals easeful results. So I hope that helps. We'll go to step 3 next. Do your process. I'd love it if you shared it within the group once you've done your magnetic client identity and share why, if anything new came out of that, or you got clarity in some way that you may not have had before, or if you liked the process or you didn't, give me feedback. I'd love to hear it and share it, yeah, within the group. Or if you've got any questions, send me a direct message and I can help you to work through your process. But I tell you what, this really helped us increase our profitability. You can see the huge shift in revenue with the same cost structure. And I'll never look back. We've continued to build on this and just get better and better in our sales function as a result.